Morning. Welcome to Motivation Monday. I'm very lucky to have Luke Patience and Saskia Sills with me. And today we're going to have a bit of a chat about bumps in the road. So overcoming adversity, and also a chance to catch up with Luke and Sass on what their journey's been so far and what sort of stuff's happened and all those bits and pieces. So everyone's going to know you, and you've both got Wikipedia pages, so that means you definitely made it. But it'd be good to get some intros for me to start with. So, Luke, do you want to tell us where you are, what you've been up to, who you are?
Yeah, so hello everyone. I'm Luke Patience, for those that don't know. Sailor 470 in the British sailing team, and I am just looking out the window there in sunny Scotland, believe it or not. Trying to keep healthy and keep safe at the minute. So, yeah, it's a cool idea this has been, and it keeps the old brain stimulated.
Cracking. Sass?
Hey everyone, I'm Saskia Sills. I'm an RSX windsurfer in the British sailing team. I'm currently in sunny Portland, quarantining down here, and so yeah, same as Luke, trying to stay safe and not go outside for too much. So yeah, I'm here.
So I think physically we couldn't have had you any further apart in the country.
Yeah.
Like Tyree and Portland. That's as far as you can get, isn't it?
There's probably about 600 miles between us, which is that's the distance I like to be away from Sam. Any closer is an issue.
Thanks.
Okay, so we are taking social distancing to the absolute max here in terms of UK geographically what we can do. Cool. So the chat we're talking about kind of bumps in the road and challenges really, but we've got people in junior squads watching, youth, and then also kind of P24 and senior squads as well. So we're just going to talk a bit about your junior journey to start with, if that's all right. And just, when you were a junior, was it all, and pardon the pun, plain sailing, or did you have any challenges that kind of dropped in there? What were your difficulties? What's the most important thing for you as a junior? Either of you want to take that up? What challenges did you face?
Ladies first.
Me? So junior for me was a really fun time with my sailing. I'm a identical twin, and I have an older brother that also windsurf, and so every weekend was kind of spent away windsurfing together, and then in the summer times we got to go down to the lake every Wednesday or something evening. So yeah, for me junior sailing was just kind of a fun time with all my friends and a release from school. I wasn't really exceptional in school, wasn't really had okay grades, was okay at all the sport, never really kind of found my feet. And windsurfing just seemed to be the place where I felt at home and enjoyed. And the most important thing for me at junior sailing was probably the World Championships and the European Championships. I've always wanted to be a world champion, so I always kind of focus on those competitions and periodise my years training for those competitions. So yeah.
So when you say you always want to be a world champion, when you started windsurfing, how early was that in there? When did that become a focus? So it went from being fun on a Wednesday after school and stuff. When did you suddenly go, actually, I want to do that?
To be honest, it was always. So I went to my first World Championships in 2008. I think I was 11, and I was at the back all the time. Ollie Woodcock was my coach, and I remember he just kind of. Everyone else would have gone in, and 20 minutes later I come back and then come around. And I remember being there watching at the prize ceremony, thinking, wow, that's so cool that people can win this, and how do they win it? And then the year later, the World Championships were here in Weymouth, and Imi and I, my twin, we'd been training, we'd just been having fun over the last year actually, and training well together, and we were on 6.8, and we got to the Worlds, and we went into the final race on joint points, and we had no idea we were even going to be top 5, top 10. We kind of knew that it was going to be a nice fun regatta because it was at home and we had lots of friends there, but we had no idea we could win it. And so yeah, I think it kind of started 2008, and then when I was actually in this.
Hold on. You went in joint points.
Yeah.
You just want the outcome now.
Skipped over that bit,
and I went left Classic Weymouth, and Imi went right, and I won that race.
Ah, well done.
So I won the World Championships, and Imi came second, but it kind of felt like a joint thing, you know. It didn't feel like I'd won, and our older brother Sam had also won the under-17 category, which was kind of bizarre. So it wasn't until that moment where we just kind of thought, oh my gosh, we could be world champions here. And then from then on, I just wanted more and more and more.
Okay, cool. What about you, Luke?
Sort of echo some of the things Sax was saying there. So I started in Optimists as a junior sailor in a tiny wee village here in the west coast of Scotland, in Rue and Helensburgh, which there is a bit of sailing that goes on there. Gorgeous part of the world. And I was just really encapsulated by the whole thing. For me, when I first went sailing, it was all about mucking around in the water with my mates. You know, it was just something cool that we were doing. We did all sorts of clubs, like tennis clubs, and played football and sailing, obviously. I even got a leotard on and bounced around a gymnast hall for a while, you know. Yeah. But sailing just grabbed me. And I think for me, what it was is there was no lines. You know, it's not your tennis court where you got your tram lines, your baseline, you got to hit the ball within that and that kind of stuff. For me, it was really, it was an artistic. I'm from a family of artists, and I'm the black sheep. I'm useless with anything. You know, I just can't. And I think my expression of all that was going out sailing. You know, and not seeing lines and creating your path through the water and seeing gusts and things like that. So junior sailing for me, obviously it built from there, and it turned into competition and because I'm super competitive. But I think of all my memories in the sport, junior sailing are my fondest, because, you know, that at that age, it's so raw and pure. You know, you're doing it because you well, hopefully you love it. You know, hopefully you're not being forced into it.
Yeah.
Which I know I had friends who were, and so it's a different story. But if you like it, it's as raw as it will ever get. It only gets more complicated, not necessarily in a bad way, but you only build layers onto your sailing career. You don't take them away. So I'd snap my fingers now and be 8 years old again and rushing to go out at sunset after school on a Tuesday to hoist this sail and learn this craft again. You know, that just dreamiest days I can remember.
Yeah.
It's fun, just like for both of you. It just sounds like it was just pure fun at junior level.
Yeah, like Luke said, messing around with your friends and getting that hook of wanting to know and wanting to learn more. And I think with being out in the water for me, which was so nice, was I just felt free. Like there was no one around me, there was no pressure from anyone, there was no, like, at school sports I often felt just that everyone was kind of judging you all the time, and you know, and I just didn't enjoy the sports I did at school. And so for me it was just this freedom that I hadn't experienced anywhere else, and to do it with my siblings and my friends was just incredible.
You make friends for life, don't you? You know, obviously your sister and your brother, but you would have made friends along the way. I mean, I've forged friendships that I have today, you know, and they would be like my best know, I would never stop being in contact with just because if sailing stopped. You know? So, but it's super competitive being a junior as well. Like, because you're at that age when you're, you know, to move it on to that a little bit, you know, it's brutal. You're talking about school there, Sass, saying how school can be tough, can't it? You know, there's a lot of change going on in school. There's a lot of sort of competitive. There's different subjects. You might be good or bad at others. So you feel this ebb and flow of competition at school. It's no different than sailing, you know, and it can be nasty sometimes because you're learning what are the do's and don'ts of being a good sports person. You know, what's humble and what's arrogant, and I was learning that, you know, certainly. Tipping the wrong side of it too often, but it can be, you know, also at junior sailing, it feels like there's no rules yet, and that kind of stuff, because you're learning it all, you know.
And the coach goes, you can't do that. What do you mean I can't do that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where you get a bit older and there's a bit of etiquette that you just find that you wouldn't cross, but you had to cross them as a youngster to learn that.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, you're friends and fun, and I have really good fond memories of being competitive with the boys and the girls, and just learning, like Luke said, the boundaries, which I think have translated towards my other part of my life of school, and helped me through that actually.
Did you ever? So when you guys, it sounds like I want to go back to being a junior sailor now. So that's fantastic. Did you have anything in that period that you were like, actually, like maybe pause and think, or this is something got really hard, or I don't want to carry on with this, or this isn't my path, or was it all kind of like, just sucking me along, let's keep going?
Luke, you go.
All right, yeah. I mean, like, yes. There was many moments where I stopped and questioned whether I want to do it, but there were a few, and I don't really think you can get to where you want to be and putting that much passion and desire into it. I don't think you can do it without pausing to go, because you're putting so much heart and soul and you want something so much. There's bound to be moments where it's something you're seriously questioning whether you want to do it, because probably by definition, if you want it that bad, it feels awful if you don't get it. If you want something, whether it's the weekend competition or blah blah, and by the way, you will fail. You won't always get the goal that you're aiming for. So by definition, if you're that driven to achieve it, the opposite will be heartbreaking. And I can remember being heartbroken, I've been more affected by losses in boats than half the girlfriends I've split up with in that sense, I would go home and it was in tears to my mum, and it's vital, really. I'm trying not to say this with the cliche that you learn from your lessons, but you do, and I can definitely remember questioning whether I wanted to do this anymore. One thing that I find a great healer and all that is just a bit of time and distance from it. The boiling blood does settle, or the embarrassment, or the shame, or the lack of confidence, or whatever the thing you're feeling, it does settle over time. And being a junior, the great thing is you can go back to school, and you get distance from the sport for a while. You move into the other world, and then you go back to Narnia again and get back in your boat, and you get this really sort of left and right lifestyle for a while. So my feeling is, if you're at all questioning whether you want to do this anymore, good, you've got the right ingredients. If it hurts that much, that means somewhere in you've got enough drive. And I could reel off probably some boring stories that I won't, of moments that I've really sat back and questioned it because it hurt that much.
Yeah. So I suppose apathy is the thing you want to avoid. But if it hurts, then you're actually probably going in the right direction.
I think so. Yeah. If it really hurts you that much, great. If I was a coach, I'd be like, good, right, we've got something here. That's a great trait to have, or a great emotion to be feeling right now. It's not the time for the person. It's horrible, and there's tears flying around everywhere. But it's a long old game sailing. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
Thanks. What about you?
I totally agree with Luke. Like, there's those moments where you haven't achieved those goals. And actually, for me, it was always kind of the Europeans. I never usually nailed the Europeans. I just never felt like I could get my work out where I kept going wrong, and I don't think I've been European champion. And so for me, that was kind of always gutting for me, where I always felt like I'd been working towards this competition and just never kind of performed or never kind of achieved those goals that I'd wanted to. And then but I think that's also, I was so upset about that it gave me the kick to turn around whatever I was doing for the World Championships. So that massively, but actually kind of a bit differently to Luke. During school, age 14, 15 when you're a girl is a really, really hard place to be, especially if you're doing sport. You know, I kind of remembered, I'm sure they didn't mean to be mean, but the guys at school used to kind of walk behind Imi and I after the school day would end, and they would laugh about how big our shoulders were and say, oh my gosh, you don't want to get into a fight with Imi and Saskia. And at the time, it was upsetting. But, you know, you just kind of brush it off as school kids do, and you just kind of think, okay, whatever, it's because, and we were lucky that we had each other to kind of be like, it's because our sport, we have big shoulders because it helps us in windsurfing. It's what we've worked towards, it's what, you know, it helps us, so why are we ever going to not want them? And I think as a girl, it can be a really lonely place when people are kind of commenting on you and what you look like, and people, and actually, as well, socially, we just stopped being invited to things. So even on weekends where we were at home, we wouldn't be invited because people would just assume we weren't there. And I think that
can relate to that.
Yeah. As a young school child, I mean, I can't imagine what it's like now with social media. Luckily, we got through just before social media kind of blew up. I cannot imagine what that would be like now. But the only thing that kind of made me realize was actually I'm missing all of this because I love what I do and I want to do well, and I want to make my sport, which I love, into my career, you know. And I think Amy, like I said, Amy and I were really lucky that we had each other, and actually we then started to kind of make our own network of teachers at school that understood what we were doing, that would help us kind of with some hope, like they would help us if we couldn't get the homework in, they would help us there, or just someone to talk to, which really, really helped. But yeah, definitely during that age, 13, 14, 15, of being a girl at school, there are definitely moments where I thought this is not worth it. It's not worth kind of this life at school that we're going through. Is not worth the windsurfing, but it totally was. Like I'm so glad I carried on.
Those shoulders have won you gold medals, and if nothing else, it can beat those guys up. It seems, even if you need to. Nah, not condoning that. The other thing is maybe worth mentioning is fear. You know, as a youngster, sailing in big winds and the British Isles is not exactly forgiving. Sailing can just be scary. Forget competition and expectation. It can just actually be, sailing and windsurfing can be just scary. It's a windy day, you know, and I remember being fearful, you know, the raging west coast of Scotland could bring in some pretty big winds and seas. And I just remember, I even didn't go a few times and all my mates did, you know, because I was genuinely scared of the boat. And but I don't know what's scared. So the funny thing is now, you look back and what were you scared of? Because there's rescue cover always, you know, so you're going to get plucked out of the sea. No one's going to let you, dare I say the words, drown, you know. You know, we've got so much good support in this country that accidents like that, you just don't hear about, and you don't hear about them because they're not happening, you know. And so it's sort of trying to make peace with what you're actually scared of. And for me, I wasn't sure. I don't know what I was scared of. It was just the sounds of the waves, the sound of the wind whistling through the boat park, thinking about capsizing and stuff. And you know, fear plays a big part in those early years. And it's something that we all have a different path at overcoming.
Yeah. I mean, you both obviously built up a lot of, like, you know, personal internal resilience. But when you were going through those challenges, and Saskia mentioned your kind of teachers and stuff, like what helped you through? So what kept nudging you towards, let's carry on, let's keep going? You know, what supported, what those supported you?
Yeah, I think actually what Luke just said, the whole fear thing, I think each weekend you go away and you have these experiences that you come back to kind of this other world, and you just kind of, for me, it was just polar opposites of experiences. And I think I just got kind of drawn to the adrenaline and the learning and conquering your fears kind of thing at the weekends. And that's kind of why I chose to carry on and pull in those teachers that would help me. And we were really, really lucky that we had some really supportive PE teachers, and the principal was really supportive. But it did take winning the World Championships to get that support, which is not a normal thing, you know. Until then, it was kind of just a hobby that we did at the weekends, and it was a hobby, but it did take winning a few big things for people to actually realise, oh, they are doing stuff at the weekends, and they are kind of doing extra stuff, and
there's a reason for it, sort of thing. It's more than just a bit of a hobby.
Yeah, actually, the thought of going each weekend, doing 8 races a weekend, driving up country. I know we're not driving, but our parents are driving us, and then doing like 5 hours in the water at the weekend, and then coming back for 9 o'clock on a Monday morning and trying to study. Like I would not be able to do that anymore. Yeah. And I think the teachers no, you can't explain what happens at the weekends, because it's just so different to the normal school life. And so I think, unfortunately, it did take winning the World Championships, Amy and I, to actually kind of, for people to realise. We did have some supportive people, but not everyone kind of, no, they weren't bothered about it, you know, and it was not an excuse that we were tired. And yeah, so that's my take on it.
And you must have some pretty big drives.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking about the story there of the, you know, like Dad would pluck me out of school up in the north here, sometimes a bit early, like 2-3 hours before the end, with the boat on the roof, and just pin it down to Weymouth for 500 miles. You know, get about the early hours of the morning and wake up and be out racing or training, and pin it home again at 4 p.m. after the debrief on the Sunday, and like Sas says, and go to school. you do some miles, like you do some, and also this is, you know, my parents, we had no money, relative to what you could do now. There was no money to jump on planes and have one boat in the south and one in the north and just make it easy. It wasn't like that. You have one sail, one boat, you know, it's all quite humble, and you just drag it down on your wheels. And but that's, for me, I quite enjoyed that element, because that brought me really tight with my dad, because I'd spend so many hours in a car with him. Not that I wasn't tight with him before, but and you talked about what helped you overcome stuff. Well, I would sit and talk for hours with Dad about how I was scared when it was windy, or how I was so desperate to beat whoever it was, or win that weekend, or get better or something. And he was definitely my first mentor in the sport. I know parents are, for most of us that are lucky, parents are that anyway. But I mean, for specifically talking about the sport, my dad was my first sort of mentor and coach in that sense, because he would sit and talk through it with me for hours. And that helped some of the bumps in the road, is talking about it, because you pick away at it and you understand, that most of your worries are, you've invented most of it. The essence of the worry is there, but you've built it to be this size, when actually the worry was started just that size. But it's because internally you build it up, you big it up, you extend it, you try and predict it, and it's never as bad as it originally seems. But it's talking that navigates through that. And so it keeps you coming back. I mean, Sas mentioned adrenaline at the start of that, when you said, oh, what helps you overcome adrenaline? Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's scary, and it's cool, and it's, you know, there's results, so there's expectation, there's learning to do a better roll tack or whatever. There's all these things, and it's just that little seed of, what if I get it right? That feeling, that reward, you know, and the overcoming the adrenaline, that usually trumps all the worries. It's just a little seed, the wee thing that goes, I might just get it though. So obviously Luke's had that moment. He's gone into youth and actually had a year of maybe going down, maybe not quite the right path for him, and a bit of switch, that stuff. Yeah. You've gone into, you know, you've got a change of kits. You've gone to RSX at a pretty young age. Yeah. And did all that success at uni transition straight into success at youth, or what happened?
It was bizarre story, actually. So yeah, I went onto RSX, and I actually remember being very scared of the RSX because it's big. It's a huge board for
A big board, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, 57 kilogram girl. It's 15. I couldn't even pick it up. I just had to drag it along the beach. Like, oh, Dad, sorry, Dad.
Gel coating every single Friday night.
Yeah. I think he just gave up at the end. And at the start, I just used the board with the techno sail because I was too scared about the rig, the 8.5 rig. And then Iri and I slowly started to transition onto both. And this was about September, October time. And I remember there was the youth squad and then the transitional squad. And I guess I kind of thought because I just won the techno, I mean, I don't know why I thought this, but because I just won the techno worlds, kind of ended my career on a really big high, I would go straight into the youth squad. And that was kind of all of my peers that had for the last year kind of been transitioning. So they've been half on RSX, half on techno, kind of doing a bit of both. And they were all at the techno worlds. And they kind of went into the youth squad. And I went into the transition squad, and initially I was really upset about it. I just kind of thought, well, why have I just won the Techno World Championships, beaten all the people that are actually in the youth squad now, to be put into the transitional squad? So that was really I have to say it was upsetting, but I can look back now and realise why. And it was because I didn't know the equipment and I needed the help. And that year they put 4 people in the transitional squad and 2 train alongside. And Imi and I were the only girls. And there was 2 other boys and then two boys that were training alongside. And we had a coach, Lucy Horwood, and then we had Helen Cartwright as well. And it became the loveliest group I have ever been a part of. It was so supportive. The boys they'd all done a bit of RSX, so they kind of took us under their wing and helped us. And Amy and I kind of started trying to beat the boys, and they would discuss with us. There was none of this kind of girly, keep everything a secret thing going on. And the boys, they just completely helped us, and having the female coach helped us a lot as well. And I fell in love with RSX completely. I just wanted to learn more as soon as possible, more and more, and looking forward to the transitional squad days. And it was such a collaborative kind of squad. We were all really passionate about helping each other, even though we were kind of seen as the B team. We all wanted to get better really quickly. And so the summer came around and there was a reselection for the youth squad.
Do you think it was like that because you were the B team?
Yeah, I think, and I think there was just less kind of, I guess, I'd never been part of a transitional squad before. I'd always been in the national junior squad or the youth squad, not the youth squad, national junior squad or the zone squad. I'd never kind of been in that environment. And like I said, to start off with, it really hurt, but actually it was the best thing ever.
Were you told how many of you might be bumped up to the top squad, or was that just done on the selectors and the racing?
So they basically said you might be bumped up, but probably not. And so April came around and it was the youth nationals in Pwllheli, and my brother had won and been to the youth worlds twice before, and he told me that as soon as you win and you go up on the stage, you get this bag full of clothes, of like branded clothes, and I'm like, that is sick. I want that.
Always free stuff. Wins, doesn't it?
And so I was like, I'm going to get those clothes. I want those clothes. And so I go to Pwllheli in the transition squad. I remember I wasn't even mentioned in the article of the pre-event write-up. I was just not even not even a thought.
Ones to watch.
Yeah, I was just Saskia. No one knew. And I somehow went to the youth nationals and won. And so I was a transitional squad sailor that won the youth nationals, and then obviously won my ticket to the youth worlds.
Cool.
And so that was kind of like really, really cool. And I remember the youth squad were going to Ireland, where the youth worlds were, the next week. And I remember thinking, hold on. So they've already planned to go to Ireland where the world's venue is because they were so confident that one of the youth squad sailors were going to win the youth nationals. And I remember thinking, I'm so happy. Like I cannot. How has the transitional squad done this? And looking back, it's just kind of the collaborative kind of group that we became. And so then I kind of get invited to the youth squad a little bit. I wasn't part of the youth squad, I don't think. I think I was still training with the transitional squad. And then we went to the Europeans, and I came third in under 19 Europeans, thinking, oh, okay, wow, it's bizarre again. And the Youth Worlds were the next week. And yeah, like I said, everyone at the Youth Worlds, it's such a special kind of place. Everyone kind of took me under their wing, and I was just there for experience. I was just there for experience, is what everyone kind of kept saying. And then day one came around, and I think I got 2 or 3 bullets, and then I just led the Youth World Championships, under 19 World Championships, from the first race at age 15 on this new kit, which I hadn't even been on for a year. So that was bizarre, and it ended up winning the Youth World. As a nation, we won the Nations Cup. So it was just this whirlwind of weirdness. And then actually, I had a really bad time at the. I then won the European Games and kind of kept winning, and then I had a really, really bad time at the same year, 2012. The Youth World Championships were in Penghu, an island off Taiwan, and by that time I was, the one to watch, the one to beat. And I remember going, and I was leading all week, but for some reason, because I wasn't leading the way I was leading in the Youth Worlds in Ireland, I felt like I wasn't doing well. I felt like I wasn't doing good enough. And I remember feeling this pressure from everyone that, oh, Saskia's not winning the way she won in the summer. And to be honest, that was the first kind of really bad time I experienced as a youth sailor. And I went into the medal race leading and finished second in the World Championships when I won and I'd been leading a week. I just kind of didn't. It was weird. I think because all of the success had kind of, I don't know what happened. It just kind of flattened me a bit. And by the time the medal race came around for that World Championships in like October, I was just exhausted and ended up finishing second. So that was kind of my first down period, I guess. My youth sailing went from top of the top to kind of feeling. I mean, looking back at it, second at the World Championships was quite good.
Yeah.
But at the time, I felt like I was not doing well at all, and I don't know what that was really. That's kind of my transition story.
I suppose that challenge of having pretty amazing junior success and then very quickly youth success, and then actually that's your expectation then, isn't it? So that's all suddenly then hit a bit of a rough patch. It's quite hard because it's always been doing really well. Yeah. And Luke, when you first went into that 420, was that kind of suddenly you were back in Narnia, in the right place again?
Yeah, it was really. It kind of brought me back to the sensations when I was learning to sail the Optimist, because I was learning a whole new style of sailing, going from symmetrical spinnakers and from asymmetric to symmetrical spinnakers. And the boat was slower and it was really tippy. It was actually more unstable than the 29er. Because it's really round, like really dish rounded in the transom, so it's dead. Yeah. So it was cool learning it again. I really enjoyed. As soon as I got back in the 420, it just felt right. It felt right. I was like, right, here we go. And I was quite fine with being behind the curve because I was where I wanted to be. Yeah. Which was much easier to deal with and sleep with at night, knowing I'm where I want to be, despite being a bit behind the curve now, rather than in the 29er where I didn't want to be, as I'd said earlier. So I reveled in that. Actually, I think it was good for me as well. It was quite humbling to get back to that place again, because it's not always, you don't just go in this line of improvement the whole time. You go in this line of learning, but that doesn't always transfer into performance or an outcome. But you definitely continually learn, or those who end up, producing results in the end are definitely on a continual trajectory of learning. And so it was the first time in a while that I had enjoyed the process a wee bit and just enjoyed it again, since the early days in Oppies. So that was I think that was really beneficial for me. And you sailing was a torment as well. It wasn't exactly smoothest kind of period of time in my sailing at all.
Yeah.
It's a funny old period, isn't it? Because you kind of no matter where you come out of, you've got a lot of new stuff to learn. Totally different fleets, different sizes, loads of people, different people you're against. It's a strange old time, isn't it? You'd say.
Yeah, and I think you're dead impressionable at that age as well. You're sort of mid-teens, and you're now in squads of people that might be 17 or 18 that you might look up to, and people that are turning into young adults. Although at 18, I was not a young adult, very much a boy. But and so I think you're dead impressionable. And I had the funny mix of you sailing for me was trying to. I think it's really important in sailing to maintain some form of your own identity. We all got to that stage. If you're one of the lucky ones to be in a youth squad, and that means you've progressed through the system really nicely. I think it's dead important to maintain identity because you're there for a reason, and the reason is you. The system helps you and supports you, but you're there because of you, and so it's a funny one to try and maintain, to hold on to why you're there in the first place, like what you're good at. I mean, by the point of what I'm saying is hold on to what you're good at and your method of improvement versus you're in an environment now which has got some other really elite sailors that have done it probably a different way, and coaches, and they're trying to help. And the sailors aren't trying to help you, they're trying to hinder you, but the coaches are trying to help you progress that. And so youth sailing's filled with confusion, or it was for me, of holding on to my identity, which are pretty to be honest. I was one of the odd ones out. Like I said, a wee West Coast lad, we had to approach things very differently. Versus there's been good results being produced by the Brits for many years in this category. So there's a few old salty sea dogs that know what they're saying, and that was a struggle for me for a while. And by struggle, I mean I was trying to do things my own way too often and not just stepping back and listening. And it was my hindrance in youth sailing that, and it hindered me from probably achieving consistency. Like I was still okay and I could win races and win events, but I couldn't do it consistently. And I think that was a maturity thing, and listening a bit more.
And Sass, obviously start of youth was fantastic, and then some challenges. Did anything in there? Any moments now where you thought maybe this is me done, or I definitely want to carry on?
Completely, 100%. So that year I was nominated for BBC Young Sportsperson of the Year. I was nominated for Rolex World Sailor of the Year. It was mental. I did not understand, because all I was this girl that was going out on the race course and enjoying this puzzle of working out where to go and how to get there the fastest way. So this all extra noise just kind of completely, I guess, like I said, flattened me a little bit. I mean, it was great, but at the same time, I felt so confused and not knowing how am I ever going to kind of keep this up. And the next year that followed was really kind of an awful year. I'd just gone into my first year of A-levels, and I'd started to feel really unwell quite a lot of the time. And I remember I just won the youth nationals by a few really lucky kind of races. So I had my ticket to go to Youth Worlds again and try to defend my title. And then throughout this time, I was feeling more and more unwell, but just kind of wondering, what was it? Oh, it's fine. It's just a cold here or feeling sick here. And then the summer came around and I just got third at the Europeans. Just, again, skin of my teeth. Was leading in the week and then kind of dropped off and got third. And then went to Youth Worlds and then caught this really horrible illness, cold.
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus back then.
You start it. Are you started all this madness?
Yeah.
That was me. No, so during the Europeans, I was really unwell as well, and I just kind of just got through to the end and thought, okay, I've done it, I've ticked that, it's fine. And then went to Youth Worlds, got this really horrible cold, and it was awful. I was so ill, and I just didn't understand how I was getting so ill all the time. And I finished sixth at the Youth Worlds. To be honest, they said to me on like the day before racing, we're thinking about flying you home, or do you want to go home because we can bring your sister out if you're not ready to race? And I was thinking, no, like I've earned this. Like I'm staying.
I still call her Saskia because no one knows the difference anyway.
Yeah, true. And so that was a horrible time, coming third and then sixth. And then, it was just not a good time. And then I carried on getting sick and then went to the Youth Worlds in October, came around 16th. Bearing in mind, I'd beaten all these people last year. Didn't even make the medal race. Didn't know what was going on. Actually I was training harder than I'd ever trained before because I knew I had I needed to keep up with what I'd accidentally just done the year before. And then actually it turned out I got unwell, more and more unwell. And I then found out I had celiac disease, which kind of made sense because my twin sister Amy had celiac disease since she was 2. And so then this started, so this is around 2013, 14. This started a whole kind of new life for me. I had pretty much 2014 off. And so to go from the highest to the absolute lowest was the hardest part of my career to date, I would say. So that's kind of when it all went a bit wrong. I don't know what kept me going. Just that wanting to get back out on the water and be in my kind of safe place, I guess. All those years, everything that I've built up and the way, regardless of winning or whatever, just being out on the water and knowing that you need to move your outhole 1 centimetre and change your downhole by 2 centimetres to go half a knot faster, that's kind of what kept me ticking. And I think it was a very, very important lesson that I needed to learn, and it's helped me a lot throughout my senior career. The youth career started off amazing and just went completely off the cliff very quickly.
Got back up the cliff though, didn't you? So
somehow I still feel like I'm scrambling up the cliff.
We're all scrambling, lass. That scrambling never stops. I promise you that. Never stops.
How about you, Luke? So you kind of you did a lot of growing up in youth and sort of challenges, and then kind of work finding your way, really, aren't you? And then, finding your way, and then that sort of like that move into the sort of senior stuff, or when did it start to kind of come together?
Well, I have to be honest. I mean, it still was always together in some sense since Oppies. It was just the consistency of it might have wavered. But for me, I mentioned watching the Olympics. I watched the Olympics as I think I was 13 when I was watching Sydney. And I remember telling to my folks there, I was so gripped by the whole thing. Dead curious of what it would feel like to represent your country, the Olympics, to stand on the podium. I was really gripped by the whole thing. And so I remember at that age, I'd said to my parents, that's what I'm going to do. Done. I'm going to the Olympics. So that was really young to say that. and I never deviated from that desire from a 13-year-old. So youth sailing was always my stepping stone into Olympic sailing. I was always in my head going Olympic sailing. So it projected the goal further away from me.
Yeah. So your goal always being like a long, right at the end point.
Yeah, absolutely. It really has. And so the sort of transitional thing didn't really play a big part in my life because I wasn't fussed. Like I was projecting myself so far down the road all the time that I didn't care to think too much or worry too much about a transitional sort of period. It was always about the Olympics. It was always going to be about the Olympics, which maybe resulted, I suppose, in some senses to why my results in youth sailing were okay. I was national champion. I was second at Europeans, 9th at Worlds. It was fine.
Yeah.
But I might have been able to do better if I'd brought my world and my bubble into youth sailing more. Whereas I wasn't interested. I just couldn't wait to be 18, and get me in at 470. And then the lessons started coming thick and fast in 470s.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, goodness. But yeah, for me it really was about that. It was a long-term thing. In the 420, I recognized quite early on that I was fortunate to get some time with the physiologists at that point in the team, and I think this was just at the start of 29ers maybe that I mentioned. And they can do a prediction of your sort of height and your body mass and things like that when you're older. It's not perfectly accurate, but surprise, the I've got small parents, and it's a bit like hobbiting up north of Hadrian's Wall. We're all fairly small, so it's like you're not going to be that big. You're not going to be that big, and so that also from an early age meant that despite enjoying the look of the 470, I was always going to be suited to it.
Yeah.
So my path, I designed, my body size had helped that, but I had forged a path in my brain of what I wanted it to look like, and I just got my head down, just started charging.
And do you think that having that long-term goal like that, the Olympics is the aim, helped you at youth level to keep the focus on learning the craft and that stuff rather than getting caught up by trying to beat that person or get that result? Or do you just think that's how it panned out?
I think that's a great question, and my opinion is yes. I think it helps you project the goal a bit further and you learn the craft a bit more. Yeah, because the reality is that I never went to the youth worlds, and there's not a direct correlation that success in youth converts into the success in Olympic sailing. It's always about those who want it more. If you want it more, they're normally the people that end up doing the thing. So, I think that did help. And it's funny you ask. I think 420s was the start of I just managed to bring some of the lessons 2 years earlier in 470s. So when I got into 470s, it felt like I was springboarded and I was sailing not too bad already in year one. And I think it's because of what you said. I had used youth sailing as a learn the craft, understand some of the things that went wrong. And what I definitely clearly remember, is taking some youth sailing mistakes and lessons that I learned into 470s and made sure I didn't do them again. So I didn't start the 470s and relearn or make the mistakes again. I was like, right, I mustn't do that again, and took that, into 470s. I think it does help. I think, if you really want to go to the Olympics and make it all happen, I would be cautious in youth sailing, how much you take from it all.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that you were talking about that being really collaborative at the early days of youth. So we're all just learning. like, we're all just learning here and trying to get better rather than trying to be better than the person next to me.
Yes. Yeah.
So you go for like long-term gain, not short-term success. And I think that's, being able to shoot the goal down the road versus trying to win.
Is that instilled in, it's been a few years now, obviously. Is that what we do in our country? I mean, I know people are listening to this right now, but,
I mean, I think, it'd be really interesting. Obviously, I coach, but, in the current squad I work with, we're on a new kit and a new class. We've gone down we've got to collaborate because we don't know what we don't know. So we can all just get stuck in together. We'll probably find out some answers a lot quicker. And that's been really interesting. Actually, the results from that is, suddenly people are racing in a fleet that's a lot better than it could have been. Mm-hmm. Because everybody's better, and you think if everyone's better, then in theory that should shoot out two people that are.
And I think as a sailor, you have a duty to be coachable as well.
Yes.
One of the things I did very bad at youth level, I was good in Oppies at that, and I turned bad at it in youth sailing. And one of the stories that's always stuck with me is Chris Hoy's coach came and did a talk at something, I'm not sure what, and he said the thing about coaching Chris Hoy's a track cyclist, for anyone who doesn't know, one of our most decorated Olympians of all time, and the coach said the thing about Chris is he's so coachable. Mm-hmm. And they meant at the end of his career. They didn't mean at the beginning when he was what made him good. He said despite his gold medals and his countless world titles, Olympic champion more than once, his coach was saying he's the most coachable person I've ever worked with. Yeah. And that is why he's continually better than everyone else, because he will sit back, he'll drop his ego, he'll leave his ego at the door, and he'll sit and he'll listen, and he'll be happily criticised. He stands firm in what he believes in, but I really remember listening to that. It came at the right time for me. It came right at an crucial part in my 470 career. But I think the earlier we can all do that in our sailing is a good thing, because there's a big difference between someone who's coachable and someone that's not. Yeah. We are a pain to our coaches sometimes, and I wish I'd been more coachable in youth sailing. I think I might have been a bit more forwards in it all if I had been, and it's something that I've learned the hard way, being uncoachable, falling out with a few coaches, tail between my legs, realised I was being completely unreasonable, and I'm no expert as well. So, it is key to learn that.
So at this stage, we're going to do a quick challenge between the two of you. Yeah. So I've got 5-question quiz. Okay, and we're going to it's quick fire. So we're going to it's a head-to-head. We'll go for the raise the hand. I think you got the answer quickly. Okay.
So before we speak, we do that.
Before you speak, put hand up, like pick you. Okay. So right, number 1. Here we go. What year was windsurfing first introduced to the Olympics? Go on, Luke.
96.
Not 96. I'll let you go for it, Sass.
86.
86 isn't an Olympic year. 84. 84. Okay, so it's still 0. Okay, number 2. And to make it fair, when did the 470 first appear in the Olympics?
Oh, I mean, I'm going to have to do that, but I'm embarrassed already. 88.
76. 76, apparently. Right, okay.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Well done, Luke. That's your embarrassment for the day.
It's all right. It's all right. At least it was an Olympic year. Yeah, that's what we remember. Okay, right. Yeah. Right, number 3. Okay, I'm going to go for the person that guesses the closest.
Sorry, I'm going to start again, because I'm stewing question 2 in my head right now.
Right, okay, number 3. Okay, I'm going to let you both guess this one, and whoever's the closest gets the point. How many Olympic medals have the British sailing team ever won? So this is going back to 1900. How many Olympic medals have the British sailing team ever won? Chuck a number out.
I think it's like late 30s. I think it's like 38.
38. Sass, what are you going to go for?
I was going to say like near 100.
Don't pick a number.
No. don't know. 17?
17. It's 55 is the answer.
Oh.
Got to do some maths now. So I think Luke's very closest there. So I think Luke gets the point on that one.
Yes.
Like 100. That's quite a lot.
Yeah, 55.
We are such an embarrassment in this quiz. I don't even mind my own class when it's David.
Okay, you got a point. You're on the board. You're on the board now. Okay, so 2024 Paris Olympics, and the sailing is going to be in Marseille. 1900 was also the Paris Olympics, but where did they hold the sailing event? The 1900 Olympics was the Paris Olympics, but where did they hold the sailing event? Like, you both have a guess. Go on, Sass.
La Rochelle?
La Rochelle? Luke?
Yeah, I was going to say La Rochelle, but there's a part of me... Yeah, I think it... I was going to say La Rochelle.
It was on the River Seine in Paris.
Do you know, it's funny you say that. There was a part of me was like, wait, I'm sure it was going to quirky place. It was on a wee lake or a river. But then I thought the big classic 12 meters wouldn't even fit on there.
Yes, that'd be pretty shifty, I reckon, that one there. Down the River Seine, yeah. There you go. You never know. They might change it for... they might put Marseille to there. That'd make it interesting. Okay, number 5. It's quick fire. So first one to raise your hands. And you definitely walked past something that says it on it at some point. So, when did they build the Weymouth Portland National Sailing Academy?
2002?
You're really close. Go on, Luke. I'm going to give it. It's 2003, so I'm going to give that to Sam. Is that 1-1?
Well, you're going to have to think of a question now. Not a numbers answer, because that means we can get close. It just has to be an answer, you know?
It has to be an answer, right, okay.
I've got to say, we've totally embarrassed ourselves. Don't know the very academy that has brought us into this sport. No idea. I don't even know the class I'm part of. When did David... I mean, my coach, Morgan Reeser, is going to murder me for that. He's like, you need to know the history of where you've come from. Well, brilliant. That shows where I'm at.
Okay, right. I'm going to go for this then. Okay, so where were the 1984 Olympics held?
Los Angeles.
They were, correct. There you go. Won it.
Yes! Sorry, Sassy.
They won on the tiebreaker. Okay, so
alive then.
A few last questions. We covered quite a few of the questions got sent in, which is good. But first of all, can we say a big happy birthday to Karis Atwell, 15 today. She's in her 4.7 laser class.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Okay.
I'm sure what are you doing for your birthday? I'm sure you're relaxing indoors and having a nice chill.
Watching this. What a great birthday treat.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got a few different questions we had. So we've got a few coming up on the same thing. So this one is probably going to this Sass actually. Actually, both of you. So a bit of questions about like, did you go to uni? How did you manage it alongside your sailing?
Very, very difficult. It was very difficult. I did go to uni. It's all about, my coach always talked about balance. I don't believe in balance. I think it's prioritization. That's my kind of what's important now and what's going to help me in the long run. What's important today, right now. That's basically how I got through it in the end.
That's cool. Okay, so yes, okay, so actually picking a priority rather than just balancing.
You can't do everything. You can't balance it. You can't put the same amount of effort into windsurfing, the same amount of effort into studying, and expect you to kind of do well. You've got to at times prioritize. Okay, I'm going to windsurf today. You can't, because that's how I got injured. I tried to do too much. I tried to windsurf, study, and go to the gym all in the same day for months, and it didn't work. I can tell you that.
Cool. Luke?
Yeah, well, I was one of the people that didn't go to university. Some did, some didn't. And so, I really agree with what Saskia's saying about I reckon you can only do two things well in life when you put your heart and soul into it. And by the way, one of them is looking after yourself and being fit and healthy. So I don't believe that you can juggle a whole day or a whole week with, uni, studying, fitness, health, your training on the boat and then competing at the weekend. You can do it physically, but it won't reap the rewards that you're after, and you'll end up doing it all a bit half-hearted. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to uni if you want to go to an Olympics. I just, like Saskia's alluded to, is there are ways around it that will alleviate your brain on some things to focus on others for moments, but squeezing it all into one day, possibly even 1 week, I'd seriously question that.
So it's going to stretch out that period, isn't it?
Got to stretch it out, yeah. If you want to go to uni and do that, that's absolutely fine, but don't burden your work at uni by trying to go sailing halfway through the day.
How do you maintain, or what's your motivation? So what's your motivation? It sounds simple, but I can imagine it's quite a hard question to answer.
No, that's an incredibly complex. So well done to whoever asked that.
Yeah, so Sue's correctly asked that one. What's your motivation?
Be better every day for me is trying to just bettering myself, and then ticking off my goals and and just trying to be better every day for me. That's my goal. No, that's my motivation.
Yeah.
My motivation shifted it's evolved a bit over the years. Earlier in this chat, as a younger man, it was the motivation was just raw and pure, and it was just desperate to master the craft of this boat, whether it be the Oppie or the 470, and be better at that. And it's evolved because I'm not sat here as an Olympic gold medalist, but I've mastered the boat. I'm in a fractional refinement stage of sailing a 470. So I would be lying if my motivation was sailing a 470 now, and mastering it, because of all but the tiny fractions have mastered it. So my motivation now is to go to sleep at night having done the job well, sorry, it's a hard question, which is why I'm struggling trying to say this in the least arrogant way possible, is that I've won medals on the world stage now, so I know that if I get the process right, I know it's good enough to be the best in the world. So I'm no longer sit in bed and wonder/worry about winning medals or being the best in the world or winning a gold medal, because I know the byproduct of my hard work, that's a given.
Yeah.
So I've reached the stage where I know I'm the best in the world at what I do if I get the elements right. So the motivation has to come from a different place now, because saying I want to win a gold medal doesn't get me up in the morning. Saying I've got a lot to do today gets me up in the morning, and so the motivation kind of comes from, I just refuse to end this journey and in any way say that it was not done with full vigor. So my motivation is almost out of duty now. I've come this far, I just mustn't let it go at this stage, And that maybe sounds unmotivating, but I mustn't. I need to get it done, get the job done.
I think get the job done, isn't it? Getting the job done, isn't it?
Get the job done. If you said you're going to do it, go and do it. No one cares. You don't care whether I do or don't. Why would you? It's only on your own shoulders, For my own mental well-being.
I haven't nibbled that.
No,
either quit and walk away, or just get up and get going and get it done.
Yeah,
But it's from the place of knowing that my best is good enough.
Stranded on a desert island, what 3 things would you take? From Johnny McGovern, this one. Toughest question of the whole podcast. 3 things on a desert island.
I've got one so far. A mini whiskey distillery.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
A portable whiskey distillery.
My family, can that be one?
Yeah, I think within I wasn't set any bounds of what you were not allowed to take. So take your whole family. I won't make you pick. I'll say you can take the whole family. I'm not going to make you pick.
I was going to say, can we please make her pick?
I think someone asked that question on Instagram, didn't they? Who's your favourite family?
Yeah, I don't have favourites.
I can't have that. Yeah, high risk, that one.
Food, chocolate.
So chocolate, your family, portable whiskey distillery. I mean, those 3 things on their own sound quite good.
A boat and a fishing rod.
Yeah, there you go. Sorted.
A thing to be on the water with.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. It's been really, really useful. I'm sure we'll get a few questions and stuff up in the comments after this. And good luck with the rest of your our kind of lockdown and quarantine. Netflix.
Yeah. A wee bit of scheduling's not a bad thing when you're kind of. I'll try to plan just one thing that I will definitely do at a certain time.
Yeah. And taking expectation of yourself, I think, as well. Just take this time to kind of. We're going to have boring days, long days, and just taking the expectation, lowering them, so that you're not kind of beating yourself up for not doing a million things and not making this time as productive as possible. Of course, you want to be productive, but just kind of lower your expectations a bit. It's my kind of bit of information.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Learn a new skill. Learn an instrument or a new language.
Have you got a lockdown skill that you're going to learn, or?
Yeah. I have been spending a bit more time charting the west coast of Scotland because I want to go cruising after the games. So I've been learning about how I read like the charts for anchorage and stuff like that, and then crucially what species of fish I may find around there for my tea.
Have you got a skill you're going to learn, Sass, while you're on?
I'm actually learning to relax properly, just to rest properly, because I've always been bad at it, never ever been able to, and so I'm just taking this opportunity to actually just to learn on your rest days to relax and rest properly, because that's also a really important part of being an athlete that I haven't quite cracked yet. So hopefully this is helping me.
Agreed.
Thank you. Well, brilliant. Thank you very much.
All right, Sam.
Good rest of your day, and we'll catch you soon.
Okay, thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, good easy. Cheers.